welcome everyone to this webinar, which is about using Wikipedia to disseminate health research, and it's led by Adam Harangozo, who's the NIHR Wikipedian in residence. My name is Claire Thomas. I am based in two teams within the University of Bristol, within NIHR ARC West, and also within the Health Protection Research Unit in Behavioural Science and Evaluation. So welcome everyone. And before I do a proper introduction of Adam, just a couple of housekeeping announcements. So firstly, I'd like to thank NIHR ARC West for hosting the webinar, and particular thanks to Zoe Trindawidis, Lucy Condon and John Kerslake for assisting us with setting everything up and managing the bookings and etc. So thank you for that. Also to let you know that we are recording the session. We've had quite a few people wanting to see the recording who can't be here today, so we will be sharing that afterwards via YouTube, and we'll send out links to everyone here with that after the session. Adam is going to be presenting for the first half of the session or so, and then there'll be plenty of time for questions. Because of the numbers of people sort of attending today, we are managing questions through the Q&A function. So please do pop your questions into that as we go along, and we'll pick those up with Adam at the end of his presentation, if that's okay with everyone. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Adam to give this webinar presentation. Adam has been working with the National Institute for Health and Care Research Centre for Engagement and Dissemination, which is a mouthful, for just about a year now, I understand, and he's been exploring opportunities for using Wikipedia to disseminate NIHR research. For those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with the Centre for Engagement and Dissemination, or CED as it's known for short, it was formed in 2020, and it's sort of was to bring together the NIHR teams working on public and patient involvement, engagement and participation, and those that were supporting dissemination within NIHR. So on the dissemination side of things, there's the core component of their work. It is through the NIHR evidence website. If you're not familiar with that, I will post a link to that in the chat in a moment. But that website brings together accessible summaries of research findings in the forms of alerts, collections and themed reviews. And as well as that work, they've also been running this project with Adam about Wikipedia, which Adam's going to tell us about today. Now, I was fortunate to hear Adam speak about this previously in a conference I went to earlier this year, and I have to admit that I was somewhat sceptical about Wikipedia as a route for dissemination. I have this sort of perception that because anyone can edit Wikipedia, it's therefore quite unreliable and untrustworthy. And I imagine there's probably some in the room here who are similarly kind of wary about it. So I think this is a good point to hand over to Adam to tell us more about what he has been doing, and to kind of try and persuade us that we can maybe think differently about using Wikipedia to disseminate our research. So Adam, over to you.
Thank you, Claire, and thanks a lot for having me. And welcome everybody, and I'm very happy that so many people are interested in this topic, which I believe is important, and this is what I'll try to show or prove to you. Let me just share my screen in a moment. So theoretically now it should be working. So in this webinar, I'll try to talk you through what we're doing at the NIHR regarding using Wikipedia for disseminating research evidence. But I would also like to talk you through what Wikipedia is, because I don't want to assume people know how Wikipedia works. I don't want to assume people use it, and I think it's very important to understand how it works. And I'm also aware, as Claire mentioned, that people do have preconceptions about the quality, reliability of Wikipedia, which is, of course, very important to talk about, and I'll really try to touch upon these questions. And of course, then in the Q&A, feel free to ask about anything that wasn't covered. So I'll start with a general introduction to Wikipedia, then about how we can use it for sharing medical information and what we do at the NIHR, and I'll try to finish with some more tangible offers on how you can also participate in this. Now, I know that some of you might not be from the NIHR, but I think what I'm going to say is also going to be useful, or at least interesting to you too. So really, at the simplest level, Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, as it brands itself. And as an encyclopedia, what it aims to do is to summarize high quality sources in a language that a wide, not necessarily educated audience can easily understand. This is also an important part about Wikipedia, the language, but we'll talk about this more later. And obviously, this is something that comes back from time to time, that you shouldn't use Wikipedia in your PhD, obviously. But what Wikipedia is aiming to be is a starting point for learning about a topic, and then following up on the references these articles use, you can also get to more reliable resources. Now, what we still need to know about Wikipedia is that it's run by a non-profit called the Wikimedia Foundation. They only rely on grants and crowdsourcing, so there are no ads on Wikipedia, and as I said, it is a non-profit initiative. Everything that you see on Wikipedia, the text, the images, is not only free to access, to read, but it's also free to reuse, for example, in educational context, of course, with citing that it comes from Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a collaborative effort. As it was mentioned, anyone can edit Wikipedia, which is what makes it a bit of a boogeyman for some people. But we'll talk more in detail about this later. But it's true that you don't even need to register. You can just go on Wikipedia and edit the content there to a limit, but I'll get back to this. There are Wikipedias in more than 300 languages, with the biggest one obviously being the English, but also, for example, there is a Scots language Wikipedia. So even in the UK, we can talk about multiple languages that are relevant. Now, the English Wikipedia has around 6 million articles. What you can see here is in the first part is the monthly page used. So last month, these 6 million articles were viewed around 10 billion times across the world. We're only talking about the English Wikipedia. And I think a yearly 112 billion, which is actually increasing from last year. You can see what these page views mean in the number of devices, which also seems to be increasing. And I think important to us, you can see that the English Wikipedia is, of course, used in the States, but also in the United Kingdom. A great number of people consult Wikipedia for information. As far as I know, last December in the UK, Wikipedia was the 8th most visited website. And the only website that was ahead of Wikipedia, which had content, so to speak, was BBC, and the others were Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, etc. So it is quite relevant in the UK as well. Now, looking at the English Wikipedia, sorry, this is not the most aesthetical image, but what you can see here is the page use, monthly page use of the medical articles on Wikipedia, on English Wikipedia. This does involve some topics that are just connected, let's say Elizabeth Holmes or some historical articles, but it does involve all the medically relevant topics. And as you can see, this is nearly 200 million people, nearly 200 million page views monthly, which is, I think, quite a considerable number of people consulting Wikipedia for medical information exclusively. Now, what we know about the medical part of Wikipedia is that there are around 50,000 medical articles. These are, in general, higher quality than rest of Wikipedia. We know, yeah, nearly 2 billion page views, as you can see on the other side. We also know that even though it is mainly used by a general public to get medical information, we also know that, for example, in the UK, more than half of medical professionals use it to check medical information. And I would believe that this is not unique to the UK. We also know that it is one of the top sites for information for medical students as well. This is there has been studies done in multiple medical universities around the world, and it came up always basically on top. Now, one of the reasons why Wikipedia medical articles are higher quality is because there is a group of editors called the Wikiproject Medicine. They are editors, a few hundred editors who focus exclusively on monitoring, assessing, and improving these medical articles. Many of them, or perhaps most of them, are actually medical professionals. Obviously, they're not the only one editing these articles, but they do keep a close eye so that these articles remain free of misinformation or mistakes, and that they're updated regularly. I mentioned the quality of these articles, and now I won't be able to show you specific data on this, but there has been a large number of studies looking into the quality of Wikipedia articles in general and medical articles as well. And I'll show you some more of how Wikipedia works, but most of these studies concluded that this kind of collaborative editing seems to work and seems to produce good quality articles. One of the famous studies compared it to Encyclopedia Britannica, and it came up that Wikipedia is same or sometimes even better. But this was years ago, and it might not be necessary to compare it to another encyclopedia. Anyhow, when we think about the quality of Wikipedia, it is really a lot higher in a lot of important topics than we think it would be. This is just another graph showing how, this is from June 2019, how important Wikipedia was compared to other health resources online, and how many people were looking at it. Now, this is just to further reiterate this, to show that Wikipedia is not just where people go for information in medical topics, but it is often the very first place that they go. So what you can see here are the daily page views for the monkeypox article, which obviously existed before the recent outbreak. But if you look at these page views, you can really see, as the news came out, people went in great number to the English Wikipedia to learn about what monkeypox is. Now, as I said, Wikipedia aims to be the point to start learning about something, but I think it's important to be realistic, and to put it bluntly, I think it's going to be the last place for most people to check about something. So it is, in this sense, extremely important what they find there. Now, to address the question that Wikipedia can be edited by anyone is true, and I think that's in general a good thing, but that doesn't mean that you can do anything on Wikipedia. It doesn't mean that you can just write your own personal thoughts for the world to see. Wikipedia actually has quite rigorous policies on content to keep it reliable. So I'll just show you some of these. So the first one is that you have to write, because it's an encyclopedia, in a neutral point of view, in a factual tone, not about feelings, or not in a literary language, but basically summarizing facts. Verifiability, I believe, is very important, and my experience is that many people don't know that actually when you put anything to Wikipedia, any sentence, it needs to come with a reliable source through which readers and other editors can verify your statement, can see that these statements come from a reliable source. I know reliable source might sound a bit vague, but there are detailed descriptions about what counts on Wikipedia as a reliable source for medicine. Not surprisingly, these are peer-reviewed index journals, textbooks, health technology assessments, etc. So not just anything. Another policy is called no original research. It's not the luckiest name in our sense. What it rather means is what it originally aimed to do is to ask people not to put their own kind of interpretation of facts or their interpretation of the world about how it works, which they can't point to any kind of published and reliable source. But in our cases, it also means that we cannot interpret, for example, a study or the weight of a study. We can just summarize what a study found. So it also limits what we can do as editors. Now, this is perhaps, well, I wouldn't want to say it's a negative side of Wikipedia from our side, but it's important to know, and this is really to keep Wikipedia high quality, is that we are not really allowed to put just anything, just any study that's peer-reviewed on Wikipedia. The policy is that editors should prefer secondary sources, secondary research over primary, so literature reviews, meta-analysis, etc., and try not to use primary sources like an RTC, for example. Now, I think the reasoning behind this is that when we would like to add the primary research, it might turn out soon that it cannot be replicated, that there is a follow-up study which shows a different result, and also just the weight of the findings of that single study is not established, and because we are not allowed to interpret it ourselves, we cannot really place it properly in Wikipedia. Obviously, this tries to ask researchers not to use Wikipedia as a kind of a place where you get a paper published and you immediately rush to Wikipedia and add your research study as the most important thing ever done. But as with everything on Wikipedia, there is some room and there is flexibility. So please don't be sad if or don't think that this means that your research cannot be part of Wikipedia. What we do usually is we either put it as kind of a describing what research is being done in a field. So we're not saying that this is the evidence, but this is what is being researched at the moment. Yeah, that these are the directions. And of course, we can sometimes argue that a study is just important enough to be included, even if it's a primary study. Now, just to quickly go through this, there are various safeguarding mechanisms on Wikipedia to make sure that it stays reliable. So obviously there are these policies that are asked of editors. But for example, there is something, the so-called watch list, which means that editors are actually, they can put specific articles on their watch list, and if anything is changed, changed, even if a typo is changed, they get a notification and they can immediately check what's happening. So just to put it in context, I think the COVID-19 article is on a few thousand people's watch list who immediately can react if it's necessary. There are different user access levels, which means that some articles can only be edited if you, let's say, registered already for 30 days or had 500 edits. This is to make sure that articles which are hot for some reason are not that easy to edit and more easier to control. Of course, there is the rarely used, I think, and quite radical banning of users. And there are various software and bots which automatically check for vandalism. An important aspect of Wikipedia is that it's radically transparent. So you can see at each article who edited it, when, what they changed. You can compare it to what has been before. So this also helps editors to see who added any kind of bad faith content, for example. Now, what is my role, which is called the Wikipedian in residence? What does this mean? So originally this role was kind of invented by cultural institutions who wanted, so museums, libraries, archives, who wanted to contribute with their digitized cultural heritage to Wikipedia in the form of images in this sense. And they employed someone who kind of facilitates between them and Wikipedia. But in the last few years, more and more research institutions also started to employ Wikipedians in residence. But still, in the medical field, it is a relatively new, so not many have been done. One of which is Cochrane, who has had a residency for some years, and I think they're doing a great job of expanding Wikipedia articles with their reviews, and you can see that it really does also drive traffic to their library. Now, what is my role at the NIHR? I think the main role or the main goal is to ensure that NIHR funded research is included in Wikipedia, that people can find this research evidence when they read about the relevant topics. I myself do some of the editing, but the goal rather is to use, so to speak, the researchers at NIHR who have this knowledge, who do the research, to either work on the text that we would add to Wikipedia, or if they're interested, learn editing themselves. And we are, in a way, also thinking about how to integrate Wikipedia editing in the research process in the long term, but I'll talk about this at the end as well. When I say adding research to Wikipedia, this is what I mean. So this is from an article on rats esophagus. It's from the screening section, and there was a study about using a kind of sponge to collect cells. So the part in these brackets is the part that I've added. So basically, one study comes down in this case to 2 short sentences that expand this article. Another example, this was actually a systematic review. Again, you can see the part that is added to Wikipedia. So for example, in the first one, you can see that I try to emphasize that it's a preliminary study, that it might be useful. So it's important with the language, you can show if you're using primary research. The second one is more factual about the findings. Two further examples. This is from the same study about British Pakistani women having problems to go to breast cancer screening. And this just shows that one study can feed into different articles, and readers might approach these topics from different articles. Obviously, it's also in the breast cancer screening article as well. One more example. This is when this is a longer edit that I did based on multiple studies. For example, in this case, the cancer screening article didn't have a section on attendance at all that describes what we know about how many people attend, do they, why don't they. So this is a wholly new section in this article. Now, as a case study, one of the main things that we do is we reach out to different teams at the NIHR and offer workshops where we choose a research topic and we update that article on Wikipedia. So we had this workshop focusing on multiple long-term conditions. I think there were around 17 participants, most of them researchers, but some from PPI. And I want to show you, the basic situation was that everyone was asked to bring one research study that they think needs to be referenced, needs to be integrated to the MLTC article. Now I'll just stop this, the slides, and I quickly show the result of this workshop. You can still see my screen. Somebody shout if not. So this was the article before our workshop called Multimorbidity. Well, yeah, what you can see is it's relatively short. Most of the references or the citations were from 5 to 10-year-old research studies. It didn't include anything what the NIHR has been doing. It didn't include the name multiple long-term conditions. So really, there was a lot to change. And after our workshop, this is how it changed. So now you can see it does include the preferred name by the NIHR. There's a section defining what it is, how it's different from comorbidity, the different names, and then obviously quite a long main body of text that summarizes research, prevention, the research directions, etc. And yeah, I think it had 20 citations. Now it has 51. So we did make a meaningful improvement to this article. Obviously, it does depend on the topic we're working on. So multimorbidity, I think outside of research is more of a niche subject. So there was a lot we could add. But I think it's also important, and perhaps we could say that it is now a very good resource for people who want to know what this is and have a chance to understand it because of the plain English language. So to summarize what using Wikipedia for dissemination can offer is that you can use a transparent and collaborative platform to share research. You can reach a very wide audience that is obviously the main audience is the general public, but it's also doctors and medical students, and you can reach people where they're actually looking for information. So there's a high chance if they're reading the cancer screening article, they do want to find out information about cancer screening. You can share your research in a language, this is how I like to say it, in a language that people can understand, in a plain English language. And I do think, and the NIHR does great work in this area. And yeah, I do think that it's important to keep in mind that people do not read academic journals, yet it's important that some or all of the research does reach them. Platform is quickly updatable with new research. And we're talking about English Wikipedia, but if you contribute to English Wikipedia, there's always the chance that it gets translated to other language Wikipedias, or if you work in global health or you work with a non-English speaking audience, you can consider editing other language Wikipedias as well, which I do think is extremely important, by the way. Plus, it shows up in the altmetric score of the studies. This is the more, I don't know, career-oriented argument. One thing I want to add is that if you work with medical students or work at the university, editing Wikipedia, I think, is also a great opportunity for them, and there are many examples of university students editing Wikipedia in their university courses. They can learn how to assess, search for literature, assess it critically, understand what are the main points. They can practice plain English writing. I think it does help in embracing a culture of sharing, of open access to knowledge and research. And I think it is very important that they can have an actual impact through this assignment or this work on the world or on sharing information. Now, for closing, basically, besides introducing our project to you, I think the goal of this webinar was to offer you also the opportunity to talk to us and to work with Wikipedia. So the types of things we can offer to you, obviously there can be more, but the main thing is holding a similar webinar to your team that you've just been through, and I hope it's been a positive experience. But this can be, of course, done for smaller teams or a more specific research area. And it's usually useful, or of course we'll see from what you think, but I do think it's useful to introduce Wikipedia and explain why we use it. Then the other thing we would like to offer, and I think this is perhaps the most important, that has the most tangible outcome, are workshops where we choose a specific topic, a specific Wikipedia article. One that's coming, I think in December, we're going to work on obesity. And what we do here is that we work on summarizing these chosen studies and adding it to Wikipedia. This workshop doesn't involve teaching you how to edit. So we have more time on working on the actual texts, make sure we finish in time, and then that we really improve the article. Then for those who are interested in actually learning how to edit Wikipedia, which is, by the way, very simple. It is more or less like using a word processor. We are very happy to teach groups or even individuals how to edit if they think they want to use it in their longer term work. And also, perhaps this is not an offer, but if anyone is interested, we're happy to discuss it, is that we're thinking about how Wikipedia can be integrated in the research process, or even in the funding requirements. So thank you very much. And I hope we have time to discuss what's been said.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much, Adam. That was really interesting. And before we move on to questions, just to say that after the session, we will be sending out a link to a kind of feedback form, which is partly for feedback, but also if you want to get in touch with Adam to take up any of those offers that he's just made in his final slide, then you'll be able to put your details in there, and those will go through to Adam, and he will be able to pick them up. So by all means, mention it in the questions now, but there will be an opportunity to link with Adam to take up those offers in the follow-up feedback form. So I'm going to have a look at the questions. Zoe, did you have someone who had a question to put through?
Yeah, we had someone with their hand up, whether they actually wanted to speak. I think they might have taken their hand down actually, but she has put her questions into it. It's Diane. Her questions are in the Q&A now.
Lovely. Okay. So Diane has asked, do you provide support for dissemination on non-English Wikipedias?
It is a difficult question, but very important one. So the editing works the same on different language Wikipedias. What we cannot offer is a kind of monitoring of the results and how they're integrated, obviously because of language barriers. But I do see, I think, ways to teach people how to edit Wikipedia who can then be representatives to others who would like to edit in that language. Usually, most language Wikipedias also have their own communities who edit Wikipedia, so you wouldn't be, so to speak, in the dark with this. And we are very interested in working with global health. On the simplest level, this can be translating articles, but of course, active editing of other language Wikipedias, but we do have our limits, but this is something to explore and talk about.
Yeah, thank you. I think just reading Diane's point, I think she was thinking particularly around people living in this country, but who don't speak English as their first language, and having access to information that's relevant to them. So Kenneth is asking, I would like to ask if you have a team to manage Wikipedia. I'm not sure if, does Kenneth mean within NIHR? Is that what you meant, Kenneth? If you can maybe add that.
What I can answer until Kenneth maybe put some details to the question is that, so what we have is that whenever we do some kind of editing workshop, of course, we keep an eye on those articles that, for example, if there's any kind of conflict about the content we added, usually not, and if they stay in, but the general experience is that as it is in Wikipedia, people rather expand upon it and not remove it. Yes.
Okay, lovely, thank you. We've got a question from Matt asking the best way to contact you. So Matt, if you can do it through the feedback form, or else we can, Adam, are you happy for us to put your email address in the chat?
Please do, yes. Yeah. And feel free to contact me with any questions or ideas or whatever.
Yeah, so Matt was asking that in the context of offering to join a topic workshop, or kind of putting forward suggestions for future topic workshops. So it sounds like he would be keen to pick up with you on that. So that's great. Brilliant. Another question is, do you involve members of the public in the workshops?
If you mean here PPI, then yes, absolutely. We had workshop with PPI reps, and we do plan to involve them. I think we have one coming up with one of the HPRUs where the PPI team will be editing. And yeah, I think it's a very good idea to involve PPI. They are, very good in sensing if the language is too academic, and of course, for them it's also important to share the research they're working on. So absolutely, it is not only for researchers.
Brilliant, thank you, Adam. A question from Frederick. Could we also contact you for webinars that are not based in the UK? He's involved in a lot of EU projects and would like to integrate Wikipedia into more proposals.
That's a very kind question. Obviously, please do. If it's not NIHR related, it's something that I might be able to do in my free time, or I can maybe direct you to someone else, but absolutely, I'm always happy to talk.
Great, thank you, Adam. So, Sophie, have you seen examples of qualitative research in the medical field being added to medical Wikipedia articles? So, e.g. studies about experiences of conditions and treatments, etc.
It's a bit more tricky. I have myself added a few, or maybe just one qualitative study. I do think there's a place for it. So the difficulty is that Wikipedia, or these articles, are not meant for patients or from a patient perspective, but I think we just need to come up with the good framing about it. So I do think that there is a place for that, and I'm very happy if we can include more qualitative research.
Great, thank you, Adam. Lovely, thank you everyone for your questions. Loads coming in. Sam asks, would you advise individual researchers to get stuck in with this? Are there any risks?
Well, the risk is being stuck in with it, and well, so the only risk is that you run into some kind of personal conflict that is not pleasant, and this is, to be upfront about it, is that even though Wikipedia is everything I said about it, it does, replicate the real world. So there might be people who are less kind in how they communicate. By the way, there are loads of policies around this too. I think this is the worst thing that can happen, and the best is that you can make a serious impact and share things with a wide audience. Yeah, besides it being maybe addictive, I can't think of any downsides.
Thank you, Adam.
Oh, sorry. One more thing is that if you do it, you might have to deal with explaining it to others why you're doing it, who might have some negative preconceptions about Wikipedia. So it's an ongoing cycle of explaining why it's a good thing, which is a good thing, but
yeah. Okay, another question. Should planned contributions be sent via your team, or can they be added directly by research groups? So I assume the question is asking whether if we as researchers wanted to edit Wikipedia, do you want to check it, or can we just go ahead?
I think the best would be for now is to talk before, to make sure that the edit suits the Wikipedia format. It's the longer or midterm goal is that anyone who's interested will do it themselves, and we'll try to give everything that's needed. But please, first step, let's talk and see what you would like to add.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So Kirsty Ross has asked, how do you run the collaborative editing sessions, given that only one editor at a time can edit a wiki article?
Yes, this is a problem we ran into. What we do is that everyone writes their own thing separately. I collate these texts, integrated with the existing Wikipedia article without actually putting it online, send it back for feedback, and then after we agree, then I edit it. Yeah, it is a bit of a strange method, but it's true that we wouldn't be able to edit it at the same time. Also, I'm thinking if we can use any kind of collaborative writing tool, but for now it's quite DIY.
Okay, Thank you. Lovely. Mandy is asking, I'd be interested in the in-residence bit of your role and your reflection on how that works. To what extent you have influenced attitudes to Wikipedia amongst NIHR or researchers more widely?
I never understood the in-residence bit, but I'm happy if it relates to this. I do think, so I have quite a long experience with Wikipedia, and I have met or heard a lot of negative opinions and attitudes to Wikipedia. And my experience at the NIHR is that when you do a presentation like this, which really breaks it down, shows the data behind it, then people are quite positive in their attitude. Of course, it's difficult to measure, who I converted, so to speak. But my experience is that people are really open to it. Yeah.
Great, wonderful. So another question: do you have to be a specialist in plain language communications to be part of the Wikipedia team?
Not at all. I don't know if anyone is a specialist in plain language communication, but it's a very good chance to learn how to write in a more accessible way. And of course, it's a collaborative effort, so we can work on that together.
Brilliant, excellent. And one more question from Helen. Helen Bolton, what tips do you have for setting up an organization or institutions page from scratch?
Theoretically, so there's a policy on Wikipedia that you shouldn't edit your own institution's Wikipedia page. Obviously, the idea is that, I don't know, representatives of Coca-Cola shouldn't write on the Coca-Cola website that is the best and healthiest drink ever. So there are some limits to this. At the same time, to be honest, I do edit the NIHR article, but it is because I'm in this very transparent facilitator role. So I do it in a very transparent way. I would suggest you to email me, and then we can talk it through. But it is a really sensitive part of Wikipedia. People editing about, so to speak, themselves.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for clarifying that, Adam. I think that's all the questions that I can see. Zoe, are there any others that have come through on chat or?
No. The only slight drama was people couldn't access the form, which I think we've now fixed. So hopefully everyone can give their feedback and express their interest in working with Adam. Okay, brilliant. Lovely. Okay. Last moment for anyone to add their questions. And if not, we'll finish a couple of minutes early.
I'll put my email address.
Oh, yes.
Just in case.
Yes, that would be great.
But the best way still is to come through the form, and then we will contact you.
Okay. Sorry, are you able to add Adam's email address for the chat? I don't.
Yeah, I'm also just adding our newsletter sign up, because that's where we're going to put a news story for the recording. So let me just do that, and then I will put in Adam's address. Lovely, thank you, Zoe. So yeah, so I think we've come to the end of the questions. Thank you, Adam, for answering all those so wonderfully, and thank you ever so much for enlightening us on the joys of Wikipedia, the addictive nature of editing Wikipedia, and I found it really useful to see those examples of the things that you've added and the way that you changed the multi-morbidity page, for example. So please do get in touch with Adam via the form if you can access it, and if you can't, then Adam's email was just put in the chat there. Just to say and to remind you that we have been recording the session. The session will be put onto the ArcWest YouTube channel. We will email out to everyone with a link to that, and as Zoe says, also it will go in the ARC newsletter, so there'll be links to it there. Yeah, do get
do fill that in and let us know what you thought of the session, and if you'd like to get in touch with Adam, put your details there. So it just leaves me to say thank you ever so much, Adam, and
Thank you very much.
everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.